I'm so excited to see you all here today. Today, I have the pleasure of talking about two of my favorite topics, informational interviews or coffee chats, depending on how you want to phrase them. Folks seem less stressed when they call them coffee chats. And we're also going to be talking about mentoring today. I have two co-presenters with me today, Meg and Lindsay. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves now.
Hi everyone, I am Meg Battalino. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I currently serve as the Assistant Director of Leadership Development Initiatives within the Multicultural Leadership Development Center through Campus Life. And so myself along with Lindsay are the co-chairs of the Mentoring Collaborative here on campus. So we're going to take some time to tell you a little bit about the Mentoring Collaborative and mentoring and mentee opportunities for students here on campus. So I'll pass it over to Lindsay to introduce herself.
Hey everyone, my name is Lindsay. I'm the coordinator for mentoring programs over in the Office of Undergraduate Studies. So I work closely with the honors mentors, students in health and medicine, and a couple of other on-campus mentoring programs. And like Meg said, we're working together on the Mentoring Collaborative, so we're excited to tell you a little bit more about that.
We're excited they're here with us today, and we also worked with two other wonderful ladies, Kara Johnston and Caroline Vivas-Vietri from the Alumni Association. They're not here with us today. They are here in spirit. They have entrusted me to talk about their topics. So we've got a lot to get through, so let's get going. And so informational interviews is really a great skill to have, not only as a student who is looking for internships and postgraduate jobs, but it is a skill that you will use throughout your life. Starting off probably as the interviewer, interviewing folks who maybe you are interested in their career, or maybe you're interested in their industry or their company. It gives you an opportunity to talk to them, ask lots of questions, but you're not asking for a job. You're just trying to learn about them, their jobs, their careers, and industries. It's a great way to start to build your network, and it is also a great way to potentially find mentors. And so as you go through your career, you may find yourself on the other side of the table being the one being interviewed. So it's a great skill set to have, and it's one that we at the Career Office, Career Development Services, really encourage our students to take advantage of, because for those of us that might not be sure what we want to do, this is a great way to learn about different opportunities in a safe environment. And so I'm going to turn my duties as a presenter over to this great video I found that does a much better job of explaining informational interviews, and the video is much better than any of the graphics I could come up with. So let's go ahead and watch this. If questions come up during it, please put them in the chat and we'll address them afterwards. And hopefully the sound will be good. Let me know if the sound is not good.
An informational interview is an amazingly powerful tool. It can help you learn about different types of work you're interested in. And by providing inside perspective, it may even connect you to opportunities you couldn't see from the outside. So let's take a look at what informational interviewing is all about. An informational interview is not a job interview, and it's not a tricky play to get a job. If you're asking for a job and they do have one, then they'll likely start judging whether you're a good fit. And if they don't have one, then that conversation ends there. The key to a successful informational interview is curiosity. With sincere curiosity and good questions about your interviewee's life and experience, you gain insights into their successes and failures, how they got where they are, and what's important to them. Your curiosity will lead to an authentically engaged conversation, which also opens the door for the interviewee to get curious about you. The professional you're speaking with might say something like, "Wow, you're asking some really good questions." And in that transition, informational interviewing becomes even more valuable for someone looking for work. Informational interviews give you an opportunity to see what kinds of work resonate with you and help you determine what communities you would like to be a part of. In a good informational interview, The professional you speak with gets a lot out of the conversation too. They get to discuss their life and their work with someone who's curious about their experience and values their expertise. Plus, they get the pleasure of talking with someone who's genuinely interested in what they do. How do you do it well? Here are 5 tips to get you started. First, do your homework. Take some time to research LinkedIn or other online platforms to learn about the professional you're interviewing. Consider what questions you have about their life and work. The second tip is to try to meet in person. On the phone is okay, but face-to-face is best. 3, always try to buy the coffee or lunch. Your interviewee is giving you their time. Paying is a good way of showing your appreciation and beginning to create a connection. 4, ask your interviewee who else they recommend you talk with. If the interview has gone well, they may be willing to connect you to other professionals you can learn from and who might have opportunities for you. Finally, tip number 5, after the interview, send a thank you. Email is okay, but a handwritten note is even better. And if they ask you to keep them posted on your progress, do so.
So the tips in there are really important to pay attention to. You just don't want to walk into an interview unprepared. You want to make sure that you have your strong elevator pitch, right? You want to be able to describe yourself. You want to be able to be very clear on what you're looking for in that information interview. The part about being prepared and doing research, very critical that you don't walk into somebody's office and ask them about what they do or what their company does when you can find that out on their website or in their LinkedIn account. You want to ask thought-provoking questions that are a little more personal. We all love to talk about ourselves. So when you ask insightful questions, you will hopefully get very insightful answers. You want to be prepared to listen. You want to stay engaged. You don't want to be fiddling on your phone or fiddling with anything else going on. You want to be there as if you're in a interview for a job. Make sure that you bring a portfolio, a working pen. You want to take notes down. One thing about note taking is be really careful that you don't end up with your head down the entire time. And so as you're interviewing somebody, you want to be able to have a good mix of eye contact and taking some notes down. You don't want to write word for word what they're saying, but basic themes. You want to make sure you have a copy of your resume with you. Do not give it out unless it's asked for. And it will be really clear whether that person wants your resume or not. And they may even ask for it electronically. But make sure that you have a couple of copies of your resume on nice paper tucked into your portfolio. Always be polite. Remember, these people are taking time out of their busy schedule to talk with you. And so you want to be respectful of that. Make sure you're on time a couple of minutes early. Sometimes I'll get folks that will show up 10, 15, 20 minutes early and they end up having to wait. Being 5-10 minutes early is okay. Being a half hour early is a little too much because it puts stress on the interviewer. And also dressed appropriately. Now, if you're going into somebody's office and you're doing an informational interview, you probably want to be dressed accordingly to what that business is like, most likely in a suit. If you're going for coffee or doing something less casual, it's always good, I recommend, to be a little overdressed in a suit. But if you think that you might be too overdressed, a business a little better than business casual would probably be appropriate. Again, you want to see what industry it is, what and where you might be meeting somebody. Questions about being prepared? Any thoughts? Any other advice that Meg, Lindsay, you have about informational interviews, or anybody else on the webinar? No. Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, I was just going to stress the importance of kind of doing that background research when you know, ahead of time, and that way too, you won't waste time kind of learning. You know, you'll be able to have really organic, authentic conversations with the individual. So definitely, I just want to stress that point that Denise made.
Thank you for that. The other thing that's not up here to be aware of is the time. And so if you schedule 20 minutes, keep it to 20 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, keep it to 30. I always would say to somebody, oh, we've got 5 minutes late, 5 minutes left. Do you have a couple of extra minutes? Or I know that you have a hard stop. Here's my last question. So pay attention to time also. All right, so I always say to students that my crystal ball is cracked, and unless they ask, folks on the other side are not really sure what they're looking for. So you want to make sure that you're asking good, solid questions based on your research. You want to ask if it's okay to reconnect in the future. Some folks will offer it. They'll ask you to stay in touch, keep them updated. But if they don't, you can always ask and say, can I reach out to you? Can I link, if you're not connected to them on LinkedIn, can I connect with you on LinkedIn? Is it okay if I follow up with you in 6 months? You always want to ask, and then you want to make sure you do that follow up. You also should ask for referrals and job shadowing. If you're interested in job shadowing either that person or somebody else in their industry or in their company, ask. Again, we're not mind readers. And so you want to be polite in your asking. You want to be respectful if the answer is, I'm sorry, no, or not at this time. But if you don't ask, then the interviewees are not sure what you're looking for. And always, 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 always send a thank you. And again, handwritten thank yous are rare, but they're very much appreciated. When I get a handwritten thank you, I know somebody really took the time to take out that piece of paper, write it, put a stamp on it, and send it over. The little warning on the bottom, again, to reinforce what Meg and I both said, is make sure you do your homework ahead of time. Don't ask obvious questions because it'll come across as just being lazy and wanting the interviewee to do all the work. And that is the worst thing you can do when you go into an informational interview. You want to be the one that's driving that bus. And so here's just some sample questions that you could ask. Again, a lot of it is should be geared to that particular person and their work and their company. And so you don't want to ask yes, no questions. You want to ask thought-provoking questions, questions that you can kind of sink your teeth into and to really pay attention to the answers so that you can ask some follow-up questions. I would go into an informational interview probably with 10 or 12 questions, but I would have them prioritized. Here's the 3 that I really, really want to get answered. Here's the next set of 3, and think of it that way, because you might go off on a tangent and have other questions. But again, you want to be prepared. You don't want to sit there like a lump and that person keeps asking, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Question, are there certain industries where informational interviews are more common or more encouraged than others? I don't think so. I'm trying to think. I have never had anybody refuse me an informational interview. And I have not had any students come back to me telling me that they couldn't find somebody. I've had people say to me, I'm not the right person, but you can speak to so-and-so. I don't know if Meg or Lindsay or any of the other career advisors on the webinar have any thoughts about that. I have not seen that. I believe that people like to talk about themselves, are honored when a student reaches out to them for their feedback and for their advice. So I don't think that there is a particular industry that it would work or not work in.
I'm curious. Like for me, I know I've had friends that have been in like the medical field, and they've tended to do more like shadow opportunities in which they can actually like follow somebody around. So it's like a different kind of informational interview. But yeah, I agree with you, Denise. And obviously, I'm not a career advisor, but just based on personal experience, that's something that comes to mind is, maybe in the medical field, it's more likely to do shadow opportunities as opposed to informational interviews.
And that's a good point, Meg, because for positions where somebody's not sitting in an office all day, they may not have the time to sit in their office for 20 minutes and talk to you, but they would be fine with you kind of watching what they're doing. And so that's a really good point. We probably should have built in something about job shadowing, but job shadowing is when you're spending, an hour, a half a day, a full day with somebody and actually following them around and watching who they're interacting with, how they're working, mostly, like you said, medical with patients and stuff. So that is similar to an informational interview. What's important about job shadowing is you never want to interfere with what is going on, and you want to set guidelines up front to say, do you want me to ask you questions as I'm shadowing you, or do you want me to write them down and we'll talk about it afterwards? And so job shadowing will be a little bit different as far as what the rules of that shadowing will look like. And you'll want to bring that up if and when you do have that opportunity of what is that person, what is the best way to have your questions answered. So thanks for the question, Lexi and Meg. Thanks for your comments on job shadowing. All right, so a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself. There are lots of different types of mentors and mentoring relationships. And so this is just something that probably most of us have had, even if they were informal personal mentoring relationships. If you think about the person that you go to for advice or feedback, or maybe that person that gives you a little bit of tough love and goes, Denise, what were you thinking? And so having some formal mentoring relationships helps you again to think about what you're looking from a relationship. Again, you want to be prepared when you're creating a mentoring relationship. When you meet people, you want to think about, okay, how can I, and this is going to sound terrible to say use this person, but how can this person help me in my current situation? Do I want this person to be an informal mentor that maybe I talk to once in a while when I have a particular problem? Or do I want to have a formal mentoring relationship? And I'll let Meg and Lindsay kind of talk through that. Is it a personal or professional relationship? And so most of us probably have folks on both sides, right? That we go to for some personal issues, and then maybe we go to for some school or work issues. And then the other one at the end is whether you're looking for a mentor or a mentoring relationship that is based on skills or a job search, or is there something going on in your life that you're looking for advice on? And so mentoring relationships can take on lots of different roles. They can look very different. It's all based on what your needs are, but what the other person is willing to offer you. I'm gonna, Meg, I'm gonna turn this over to you now since we're getting into your section, and I'll let you and Lindsay kind of add your experiences to these types, and then we can go on to the other slides, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so as Denise mentioned, there are definitely, different kinds of mentorship. And so it's important to kind of know the difference between these. So when we think of formal mentorship opportunities, these would be something like, you're assigned to a mentor through maybe a program that you're involved in, right? So this person has been actually assigned to be your mentor. And perhaps through this program, there's particular curriculum that you're following, or particular, scheduled times that you're meeting with your mentor, between a mentor and a mentee. There might be specific things and goals that you're actually trying to achieve. Whereas, informal, that might come across a little more, or that might be found a little bit more organically. You might find this person on your own. There isn't like a set list of guidelines that you have to follow. with one another. Personal and professional. So oftentimes I think when we think of mentors, we probably think about our professional goals and finding someone that can help guide us, give us assistance, give us insight regarding, that professional career track that we want to take, which of course is fantastic and super helpful. But also you may want to consider someone that, can help you with other goals as well, and someone that maybe you share common ground with regarding values and passions and hobbies. And you can certainly find a mentor that speaks more to your personal life. So regularly scheduled versus as needed. So again, that could maybe fit into formal versus informal. With those formal mentoring programs, chances are, not all the time, but chances are, there'll probably be specific opportunities that are scheduled for you to meet with each other. Whereas, oftentimes if you're meeting this person on your own, you're going to, need to be proactive about scheduling those times to get together. And we'll actually talk about that in a little bit. And skill-based versus situation-based. So again, thinking, is this person a mentor for me in regards to my professional life or in more in my personal life? Is there a specific skill or technique that I'm trying to master and this person is an expert in that area that can help me? Or is it more broad overall? This is what I'm passionate about. So that's just a little review of those different kinds. I definitely want to give Lindsay a chance to speak any other insight regarding these, or if there's any others that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add, I think, there are different types of mentors you can have that can fall into all of these. So you can have, peer mentors, faculty mentors, a mentor in the workplace even. And I think something that we don't always address is, I think when you're in college, especially in your undergraduate career, a lot of times you can find mentors, like you kind of like luck into them sometimes, like you're in the right place, right time, sitting in the right presentation, and you're like, oh, I'm going to find a mentor. I've got all these resources now. But when you're in different environments, like a grad school environment, say, you're often required to have a mentor as part of your degree program, but they don't tell you, here's a list of people you can work with. You have to have the skills to relationship build and to network and to go out and find a mentor who's going to fit right with you. So I think, we're kind of capitalizing on a lot of different skill sets here, but to take it back to kind of the foundational skill sets that Meg and I are going to talk a little bit more about in a minute here, you'll be able to use those skill sets if you work on developing them to help you find whatever mentor best suits you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, there isn't any like rules when it comes time to building a mentee mentor relationship. Again, like Lindsay and I are going to share with you some advice as to how to navigate that relationship, but there really isn't any right or wrong reason. And as Lindsay mentioned, like you might find an individual or two individuals that, fit into several of these boxes. So Denise, I don't know if you want to talk about this or have us talk about this.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So there's many different ways to find a mentor. And so thinking of, your situations as FGCU community members, students, there's certainly a number of different resources available to you. Denise is going to talk a little bit about an opportunity through alumni in which you can get connected with a mentor through that. Lindsay and I, as I mentioned, we are the co-chairs of the Mentoring Collaborative. So we'll definitely make sure to give you resources and information about mentoring opportunities through that that organization that we oversee. But then, of course, there's other opportunities for you too. And as Lindsay mentioned, it is about being proactive. It's about kind of putting yourself out there and kind of doing some of the legwork, so to speak. LinkedIn is certainly a great tool. So I know, definitely, I think when we think about making connections and networking for our professional journey, definitely LinkedIn is a platform that comes to mind. And so this is certainly an opportunity to connect with potential mentors. And, I think something to note too is So Denise was talking about those informational interviews before, right? You know, in your research, you might find that you really connect with an individual, and then upon meeting them and having an informational interview with them, you might decide this person could be a really great fit mentor-wise for me, and that's a great opportunity to form that relationship. What an awesome way to make that connection, and you know, even if you don't end up working for that particular company, you could still build a great relationship out of that. Family and friends. So certainly can network through your family and friends to find mentors. You know, it's interesting too, and I'm curious what my colleagues think of this. But I'm always very mindful of encouraging individuals to not find a mentor within a family or friend member. You know, certainly I think mentor relationships can build into friendships. But I think something to be mindful of is, you know, your family is going to obviously want the best for you, but they might have a little bit of a biased relationship with you, so to speak. So it might be difficult for them to stay neutral and to kind of remain and having that neutral ground. So that's something that I always encourage individuals to do, is to, you know, find mentors outside of your personal circle, right? And again, certainly there's a number of experiences in which you could connect with someone, develop a mentor relationship with them, and then that turns into a friendship for sure. Professors are a fantastic resource. And, you know, and I'll put on here too, higher ed professionals in general are great mentors. I know for myself, my mentors were my academic advisor in college was one of my mentors. The director of orientation at my university was my mentor. And actually through that individual, she connected me with her mentor. And that's actually, weirdly enough, how I ended up applying for a job at FGCU, was through my mentor's mentor. So it's just, you never know what doors can open by these connections that you make. So definitely utilize, you know, the connections and network that your family and friends and professors have. I have a number of friends that have mentor relationships with professors. Again, they're going to be able to speak particularly about that professional journey with you. And then of course, employers and employees. Again, certainly I know a number of individuals whose supervisors are fantastic mentors for them. You know, the possibilities are really endless, and I think it's really important that you are open-minded, and that you remain proactive, and keep your eye open as to where you can find those connections, and network. That is, I think, the biggest thing when it comes time to building a relationship with a mentor. Lindsay, do you have stuff to add?
Yeah, I think kind of the point you were making about using different networks to find potential mentors. I know something that was really beneficial for me and for a lot of the students that went through the graduate program I was in, was trying to find a mentor who was kind of familiar with your field, but not directly in it, because they have a more objective point of view. And when you get into, this might be more tailored to graduate work, but when you get into like thesis and dissertation work, you sometimes need that kind of unbiased, more objective point of view for feedback. And one of the things too, I think with mentors, especially if you have a close mentor relationship with them, is that they learn how you think. And sometimes like that kind of merges. So that's why it's important to have like different types of mentors. You know, maybe you do have that faculty mentor or professor, you know, something like that. But then having someone maybe that you know are familiar with, that is familiar with your field or your work, that can give you feedback, but isn't as familiar with how you think and kind of how you approach different situations is really useful too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we want to be able to share with you one of these opportunities that is available to you as FGCU community members. So as mentioned, Lindsay and I oversee the Mentoring Collaborative. And so what the Mentoring Collaborative is it's a group of FGCU campus partners. So we're made up of faculty and staff members that oversee formal mentor programs on campus. And so what I mean by that is those of us involved in the collaborative oversee, you know, formal programs in that our programs have kind of set expectations, set learning goals, set training times, set program schedule times. And a majority of these programs are made up of mentors that are assigned then to mentees. But what's great is that each of these mentor opportunities really vary from the subject matter, so to speak. And so we come together as faculty and staff members that oversee these formal mentor programs to help to communicate with one another, share best practices, and to streamline some of our efforts when it comes time to supporting both our mentors and the mentees that those mentors support as well. So we are in the midst of kind of unifying some of our training methods and coming together to share those training methods with one another. And then we do have plans to be able to host different programs and experiences, opportunities for our mentors on campus to collaborate and connect and come together, as well as our mentees. And part of those efforts too is informing you all about what those opportunities are. So I will turn it over to Lindsay to share a little bit of information about some of those mentor programs available to you on campus.
Yeah, so as you guys can see here, we've got a couple that we're going to highlight today, but I just dropped a flyer in the chat and it's got a bigger, larger list of the different involvement opportunities we have for you. It's got contact information, program summaries, all the stuff, website links that you might be interested in. So definitely check that out. So we've got a couple we're highlighting today. We tried to kind of draw out some programs that are open to students and alumni and different student populations. So Eagles Explore to Soar. This program is brand new. It actually piloted this semester. It's going to roll out to the wider campus community in the fall. For any undergraduate students who are listening in right now, they are currently looking for peer mentors. So they're going through that application process right now. Felicia Smith is the contact, and there's information to get you on their website on that flyer. So check that out. The idea with this program is that they are pairing peer mentors with incoming students who are undeclared majors, and they'll provide training for you. You're going to be working with the students who are undeclared majors within exploratory advising to help guide them to different types of experiences based on their interests and their goals, to kind of help them find what they like, what they might be interested in, and start guiding them towards maybe settling on a major at the end of their first year at FGCU. So really great opportunity there. Lots of room for professional development for you as a peer mentor as well. Service Learning Ambassadors, so another great opportunity. The Service Learning Ambassadors are students who help their peers connect to different co-curricular experiences. So internships, whether it's internships, research, study abroad opportunities, these opportunities are not tied to any specific major or program. So it's more about kind of enhancing, getting those kind of high impact experiences that are beneficial for you, kind of, no matter what major you're in. TRIO Student Support Services, another great opportunity. We've got some information for you on that flyer for them. You help college students as they kind of, navigate through the college environment, working towards their bachelor's degree. Valerie Garcia Ray is in charge of that one. Eagles in Motion. So this is a cool one. This is for both staff and students. So basically you are paired with a student in the exercise science field, and you help kind of coach them through academics, getting involved on campus. There is kind of that more of a social, I think, dynamic to this one, which I think they do all have. But with Eagles in Motion, they really stress like you can work out together, you can kind of do activities in a more social environment as you're just kind of talking and kind of running ideas by each other. And then we'll let Denise cover Alumni Fire. It is a fantastic opportunity. I'm a little bit familiar with it. So if you want to take that one.
Great, thanks. And I encourage everybody to download that flyer. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize there are so many different programs. Might have to give you guys your own webinar next year. Yeah, next year. All right, thanks on that. If you guys have questions, please put them in the chat so we can get to them at the end. And so, as Lindsay said, the Eagle Mentor Program, otherwise it's called the Eagle Mentor Program. I call it Alumni Fire, but Alumni Fire is the tool. And that tool, the mentor program, is connecting students with alumni. And so alumni that have graduated either as undergrads or grads and are in their postgraduate job or their grad school. And so we now have a tool that allows those alumni to volunteer to build either formal or informal mentoring relationships. They could be one-offs, they could be scheduled relationships. So there's a lot of different opportunity there. And what happens is we're going to watch 2 videos that will kind of show you the tool and how to sign up for it. But when an alum signs up for that tool, they get to choose which activities or which services they would offer. And this slide shows the different types of services they could offer, whether it's personal experiences, maybe reviewing a resume or CV from their professional working life experience, after college transition, possibility for information interviews, some shadowing. So the mentor will identify what are the services they're open to. And then as a student, you will create a profile and you will be able to search that database and do all kinds of things there. Internships, career advice, a lot of jobs are being posted there by our alums. So it's a good place to look for job opportunities, finding investors. So there's lots of opportunities for students and alumni to connect. What's kind of cool about that database is, and it's still a fairly young database. So as we keep advertising it and encouraging both alum and students to join, it will continue to grow. But there's a small mix of different programs there that will continue to grow. And not everybody is in the Fort Myers area. And so if you are looking to go out of state or outside of Southwest Florida for grad school or for a job, I always recommend to students to go to the Eagle Mentoring Program to see if we've got alumni in that area. And again, a contact, maybe just an information interview. So to sign up, the address is here. The next screen, the next 2 screens actually are going to be 2 videos. The first video is going to walk you through signing up. The second video is going to walk you through, once you're signed up, what you can do. So again, please put your questions in the chat box as the video is going on. I'm going to just play both videos back to back, and then we will come back. And let me know if the sound is good or not good.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching this presentation by the FGCU Alumni Association. This page that you are seeing is the homepage to Alumni Fire. Alumni Fire is FGCU's networking community launched by the FGCU Alumni Association in 2018. Alumni Fire allows students, alumni, and current FGCU staff and faculty and community partners to sign up using 3 different platforms. You can choose to sign up using LinkedIn, Facebook, or your FGCU email. Step 1 of Alumni Fire will take you through entering personal information. In each of the field boxes, you will enter information such as your first and last name, preferred email address, and city of residence. As you scroll down through the page, you will also have to fill in information such as your education history. Please make sure to include your education history from FGCU. This includes degree type, any majors or minors associated with your degree, and be sure to click Save once filling out those field boxes. Please be sure to check off the box for the Alumni Fire agreement and click Save and continue. Step 2 of Alumni Fire asks how you can benefit from this platform. At this step, you can create a brief bio for other Eagles to read and even offer advice to current students. It is important to select all that applies when filling out the portion on how to help fellow Eagles. The next section is an interest list of what Alumni Fire can do for you. Some of the options include finding mentors, connecting with other members, finding a job, or finding an internship. When you select any of these options, make sure to select yes and make it public for other Eagles to see. If you would like to keep these options hidden, then select yes, but keep it private. At the very bottom, please check off the employee outreach consent box. This will allow employers to find you on the platform. If you would like to join any of the groups associated with Alumni Fire, you can do so at the bottom of the page. Step 3 allows you to check your privacy settings. Be sure to have your social media accounts linked to Alumni Fire to optimize your search. Also on this page, you can select your email settings and how often you would like to hear from the FGCU community newsletter. Now we are on to the final step, which is confirming your membership. The FGCU Alumni Association will be sent an email to verify your membership. Once the FGCU Alumni Association receives this verification, you will be reviewed by the moderator and be on your way to networking with fellow Eagles. Hi Eagles, thanks for joining Alumni Fire. In your inbox, you will receive a confirmation from the FGCU Alumni Association welcoming you to the Alumni Fire community. This email also serves as a reminder to add more information to your profile if you haven't done so already. Once you are logged into your profile, you will see the Alumni Fire newsfeed, similar to a LinkedIn newsfeed. You can browse different icons from the top left-hand area where the taskbar is located. The first icon we will take a look at is the members icon. The members section of Alumni Fire shows you geographically where Eagles are, but also shows you in a variety of different filters. You can select to find Eagles based on their education, history, career goals, or what they have to offer to fellow Eagles. This page is great to utilize when searching for Eagles to connect with. Once you find an Eagle to connect with, you can go ahead and send them a direct message straight from the Alumni Fire platform. Moving on to the job board icon, this is where you can see potential employers post job information. On this page, you can also see the employers that are also signed up on the Alumni Fire platform. This is a great resource for current students to connect with future employers. Lastly, students can join a few different groups on Alumni Fire to really connect with other FGCU students. Some of the groups include class groups for alumni to stay in touch, the Fort Myers Eagles, and the FGCU Leadership Academy. Each group is exclusive to Alumni Fire users and is always there for students to join. The FGCU Alumni Association welcomes you to Alumni Fire and are happy to help in any way. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, so that is Alumni Fire. As Caroline said, there's a ton of information in there, but there is a job board listed there. And I just want to make sure that I clarify that Eagle Career Network is still the main place to look for jobs. That is the tool that we ask all of the companies that want to hire FGCU students to post their jobs. But again, some jobs do get posted on Alumni Fire by alumni directly. And so I just want to make sure that you should always use Eagle Career Network, and now you should start to use Alumni Fire. Sometimes they're the same jobs, sometimes there's different jobs there. So I don't see any questions in the chat, so I am going to turn it back over to, I think, Lindsay for this one. And we will begin to wrap up. So think about your questions and throw them in the chat.
Yeah, so I'm going to go kind of not spend too much time on this to be cognizant of the time we have left. But really, this is just to highlight the 4 stages of the mentor-mentee relationship. What we see a lot in peer mentoring, but also when you're a mentee to a faculty member, perhaps, or a staff member, is that initiation and cultivation piece. So you have to give the mentor-mentee relationship time to develop. It doesn't happen right away. In peer mentor relationships, occasionally it does. You might know each other beforehand or something, but usually not, right? So you have to, there's some strategies and skills and questions you can ask that Meg is going to talk about to help you do that. But really, I think one of the best parts of having a mentor is that when your time as mentor-mentee ends, or the mentor-mentee relationship is redefined, you become friends with your mentor. And I've been lucky enough to have a couple of mentors and still do. And it's really meaningful when it gets to that point, when you kind of become, they value your input as much as you value theirs. And that starts to happen as the mentor-mentee relationship kind of grows and develops. So I will pass it over to Meg to go through some strategies for that.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, so it's really important. Obviously, step one is finding a mentor, right? And identifying someone that is going to be a great fit for you. But step two is really kind of nurturing that relationship that Lindsay was just talking about. And so we wanted to make sure to share some insight and tips with you on the best ways to nurture a mentee mentor relationship. So of course, the first step is to establish a relationship. And this is going to be determined kind of based on how you find your mentor, right? So if you're involved in a formal mentoring program, oftentimes that mentor is going to be assigned or chosen for you. But as we've talked about, there's other opportunities in which you might identify someone based on, shared professional goals or experience, values, passions, etc. Next, it's really important to really be open about what your expectations are. You as a mentee, it's going to be really important for you to share what you hope to gain out of this connection with your mentor, and vice versa. It's going to be really important for your mentor to share expectations with what they can provide you with, right? And that's a really important space, because you might be looking for something specific that they're just not in the realm of and able to provide to you. So it's really important that kind of right off the bat that you're sharing these clear expectations of what you hope to get out of this relationship with your mentor. The next is to create and really be proactive about that communication. It will be important. Again, this kind of goes hand in hand with defining those expectations, is creating a communication plan. It will be important for you and your mentor to decide, how do you want to communicate? How often do you want to meet? And again, in some programs, this might be decided for you as far as when you'll get together. But if this is more of an organic relationship, it's really going to be up to you to determine that. So again, in those expectations, you might want to share with your mentor, hey, I think I would really appreciate it if possible, if we could meet maybe on a monthly basis. I prefer to meet face to face. Could we maybe meet for coffee? And be transparent, right? It's really important to be transparent, honest, and authentic, because if you're not going to do those things, then this is kind of a waste of everybody's time, right? And make sure that you're really taking full advantage of this time that you have with your mentor to communicate with them. Much like when preparing for informational interviews, you might want to do a little bit of research and come up with some good questions. Same thing when you meet with your mentor. It's important to not leave it all up to them to facilitate the conversation. They'll certainly, have questions to ask you, but be ready to share some information with them as well. Again, these kind of all build off each other, right? So being proactive and staying connected with your mentor. So don't feel like you need to wait for them to reach out to you. They might have more than one mentee, right? So they're going to really appreciate if you're able to reach out to them and say, hey, can we set up our monthly meeting, for a couple weeks? This state, and this state work for me. Do you have availability during these times? That's going to be really important, especially too. Don't feel like you can't communicate with them outside of those times that you're meeting together. Keep that relationship building and growing, right? And that's too in those spaces where maybe a friendship develops. So maybe you want to text them, some article that you read that maybe in line with something that you talked about last time you met up, or maybe it came up that you like the same TV show, right? Part of this relationship too is finding common ground in common interests, hobbies, skills, likes, dislikes. That's going to help you become more transparent and authentic with this person if you're able to spend some time getting to know them on a personal level as well. Participate. Again, don't necessarily wait for your mentor to be the one to lead the conversation and be asking the questions. It's really important that this is a two-way street. So obviously as a mentee, you want to gain advice, insight, support, encouragement from this person. But in turn, this person is able to help mold you, right? And potentially help create this relationship and help you to make good things happen in the world, right? And it's important for them to really understand you and what you're about, and again, about this expectation, so that they can lead you in the right direction, right? And stay connected. So there really is no timeline on, how long a mentee relationship should last. I think oftentimes with these more formal programs, it's sort of like, okay, it's the end of the academic year. That was a great program. Bye. But it doesn't have to end with that, right? You can stay connected with your mentor regardless of maybe if your formal scheduled meeting times end. And that's really where a strong foundational, strong, authentic relationship really begins. I'm still definitely in touch with some of my high school mentors. And also too, with that said, I think it's important to note that it's okay if, you grow out of your mentee-mentor relationship, right? So I certainly had a number of mentors in high school, and some of them, that relationship has continued to grow and blossom. And for others, it kind of ran its course. And I'm so grateful for the advice and the insight they gave me at that time. So that's important too. But if you're going to gain anything from what I've just said, definitely to be proactive. Make sure that you are transparent and honest about your expectations and share those with your mentor. And be willing to learn and stay open, stay engaged. That's really important, and it's going to make this experience that much more meaningful.
Great, thanks, Megan. I'm glad you brought up the piece about relationships kind of ebb and flow, right? So I have mentors that I met when I first started my career in financial services that I still have relationships with. And then there are other mentors that I probably haven't talked to in a couple of years, but we stay engaged on LinkedIn just for hi and happy birthdays. And then I know if I need something that I know they can help me with, then I can re-engage with them. And so it's important to know that these are flowing relationships, just like any other relationship. As you were talking, I was like, wow, that's pretty much the same thing that we talked about with informational interviews when we started this almost an hour ago. And so again, I would encourage students that these are skill sets, right? Being able to conduct a really strong informational interview, being able to be part of a mentoring relationship. Those are skills that are going to give you dividends as you grow in your career as a student, but also after college. And I encourage you all to really think about how these two skills can help develop and help support you. I'll do the quick career resources available from Career Development Services. We can help you with informational interviews. We can do mocks. We can also help if you're in a new mentoring relationship and you're not really quite sure what to do or how to go about it. We can help coach you, as well as Meg and Lindsay. Lots of resources out there. I wanted to get to this part with all of our contact information. Please use us. Please use Kara and Caroline, who aren't here with us. We are here to support you as informational interviewees, mentors, whether they're formal, they're informal. The higher ed staff, we're here for you guys. Megan, Lindsay, do you have anything you want to close with?
Just feel free to reach out if there's anything we can do to help. If you see any of the programs that we mentioned that you're interested in and you want more information, or we can help connect you, just, yeah, don't hesitate. We're here.
Great, thank you. Meg, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Definitely, please don't be afraid to reach out. Obviously, Lindsay and I are passionate about mentoring and mentor opportunities. Otherwise, we wouldn't be involved in the mentoring collaborative. So definitely too, feel free to ask us insight, or if you want to learn a little bit more about us and see if we're a good fit as mentors, we're more than happy to do that. Well, I'm speaking for Lindsay, but I'm sure she'd support that. Support me.
I second that. You can
offering her up as a mentor. But yeah, no, that's why we're here. So.
Great. Well, I want to thank you both for participating with me today. It's always more fun when there's more than just one voice speaking.
So with that, thank you again for being here today, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.